It's a mess out west in the best way. 5 teams battling it out for 3 playoff spots. The Lakers not one of them after routing the Thunder. The Rockets also not one of them after shutting down Steph. And is the Knicks' big 2 turning into a big 3, or should I say a big OG? That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me are 2 of Locked On's premier national NBA experts from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. He's our man of 1,000 podcasts. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
The cone snail shoots teeth at you. It shoots poisonous teeth at you. Never go in the ocean.
Okay, who's the cone snail of the NBA would be the next natural question off of that. Who shoots poisonous teeth at you?
I think it's the Thunder, except if you're the Lakers, then it just bounces off of you helplessly.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a moment. And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, he's our Prince of Petty. It's Haize. Haize?
It's been feeling a little different here in Chicago lately. I think there are people that are drinking the Bulls Kool-Aid, and as down as I've been on this team this year, I'm oddly excited for the play-in tournament. So there you go. It's refreshing.
Expectations are the thief of joy. Hayes' team is like, hey, we're only like 6 games under 500. Play in, here we come. Nuggets fans are like, oh God, we're gonna win 49 games. Trade everyone. It's funny.
Well, listen, as crazy as things are out west record-wise, still it feels like anything is possible in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if that's possible, if a Bulls run is possible, but it seems like anything is possible. But we're going to start out west. Let's begin with the Lakers. Their Sunday rout of the best team in the West, the OKC Thunder, 126-99, the final score. Let's get a recap from the Kamenetsky brothers of Locked On Lakers.
How about going into Oklahoma City and blowing out the best team in the Western Conference by 27 points in a game that they controlled throughout?
This is about as well as the Lakers have played all season.
This was an example of Luka Doncic looking like, Luka Doncic in a game of great significance. He finishes with 30 points, 11 of 20 from the floor, 5 of 11 from three-point range, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, part of this great defensive effort. And we noted going into this game, the offense and the Lakers look different when Luka is efficient, and particularly when he gets off to good starts. He was both of those things on Sunday. The star of the show really was LA's defense.
6 minutes left in the first half. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 0 free throw attempts. I have no idea how many times that's happened this season over the last couple of years, but I can promise you, not many.
Okay, Matt, where's your hype level for the Lakers, and where's your concern level for the OKC Thunder, who also got handled by the Rockets over the weekend?
Okay, I have like so much stuff to get to. Let's start with this. Luka Doncic remains a huge problem for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Their entire wing defense does not work if you've got a guy who's that strong and is able to pass over their very good perimeter defense. Even when they double him, they're unable to force the turnovers that they rely on. It's not just the scoring. It's that he consistently creates high percentage looks. That's why the Lakers shot the lights out from 3. But the bigger problem was that they shot 42 3-point attempts in that game. I noted on Saturday on Twitter, I said the Thunder have the highest opponent 3-point rate in the NBA. They're number 1 in opponent 3-point percentage. They allow the most attempts and allow the lowest makes based on percentage. And you saw what happens if that flips in a matchup, Haize, where all of a sudden that entire thing breaks down. OKC and the Lakers play again this week on Tuesday in another game in OKC. The Lakers' magic number for the top 4 seed is 2. Do the Lakers want to try and secure that and then try and get in OKC's bracket, Haize? Because OKC does not like this matchup with Luka Doncic.
Yeah, when Luka plays like Luka, I don't think there's very many teams that like that matchup. The thing about this, like I know I've been pessimistic on the Lakers. I've said a lot with this Lakers team. I don't expect it's not about how far they can necessarily go, but when they play like this, especially against a team like the Thunder, it makes you change. It makes you kind of reevaluate some things. The Thunder over those two games over the weekend against the Rockets and against the Lakers gave up 125 and 26 points respectively in those games. That is concerning. The level of concern is on the rise for me for the Thunder. I still think, of course, they're still the best team in the West, but this is a team that, depending on the matchup and depending on how the defenders that you can throw at them, apparently they're a lot more susceptible than maybe what we were initially thinking.
There was just this conversation about why does anyone think anyone's going to beat the Thunder? Like, the Thunder is so much better than everyone else. And it's so easy to kind of jump to that based off of the stuff on paper. Matchups still matter a whole lot. I actually think you should go listen to Rylan Stiles over at Locked On Thunder. I thought he had great thoughts on this game in terms of balancing. Like, yeah, they didn't have much to play for. And yeah, the Lakers shot excessively. But look, there are some concerns here. And finding that right balance, I think, is really important going into the playoffs.
And I think that Rockets loss showcased one of their vulnerabilities as well. I want to get to that on the other side. But first, the Lakers are the 3 seed. They have a 1.5 game lead over the Nuggets, who are tied in the loss column with 4 other teams out west, the Warriors, the Wolves, and the Grizzlies. But all is not well in Denver. They've lost 4 straight, despite Nikola Jokic doing a Wilt Chamberlain impression in the box score seemingly nightly. Let's go to Matt's co-host, Ryan Blackburn, for more.
The numbers that he's putting up are crazy right now. It just isn't enough. And Denver right now is they're concentrating so much of their production in one player. The offense is great. Like, I'm not going to really concern myself with the offense other than the clutch turnovers. Everything else is the defense is just. Can I say the word? Can I say the word?
Yeah.
The defense is despicable, folks. It is despicable at this point.
Despicable. Matt, your thoughts. Is Nikola Jokic going to put up 40-point triple-doubles in the play-in?
I mean, look, it's very, very likely at this point. Jamal Murray is out indefinitely. I asked Michael Malone. He said, they're not being cautious with Jamal. He's hurt. And I said, is he going to be available? Do you believe he's going to be available for the playoffs? And he said, we're hopeful. And that's when all hell broke loose in that media room when he said that. There's a couple of problems here. In multiple tie scenarios, the Nuggets lose out because of their bad records versus some of these other teams. If it's a 4-team tie as it currently stands, the Nuggets fall to 7th as it is. They're tied in the loss column. The only reason they're ahead right now is that they're up by a half game with the win column. They're tied in loss column. If they wind up tied with multiple of these other teams, they continue to slide. Any combo with Lakers, they will slide. Any combo with the Clippers, they slide. There are all these scenarios in which the Nuggets slide down. It is very likely the Nuggets are going to wind up in the play-in tournament at this point.
Haize, which of these teams most needs to avoid a play-in game or games for your postseason life situation? Who's most vulnerable in that situation?
I still think the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are a team that's vulnerable in the play-in. I think you want to avoid that possibility. The Denver Nuggets, if they do slide in the play-in, I still think that Jokic can power them through a play-in tournament. The question then becomes about the playoffs. I mean, nobody wants to be, but team that I'd say definitely the Memphis Grizzlies. The Minnesota Timberwolves a little bit too, but I'm not as worried about them as I am the Grizzlies.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them are vulnerable.
West.
Look at the history of the Warriors in the play-in tournament. Not great, Bob. Hasn't been great. The Wolves, they will have these nights where they just cannot get it together. They turn the ball over and the offense doesn't carry. The Clippers offense equally has these nights where it sputters and dies. They look great right now, but the idea of Kawhi Leonard in these clutch situations, these must-win situations, is way beyond the reality of it. The Nuggets defense is despicable. It's absolutely atrocious. They can get beat by they lost to the Wizards twice. Everybody in this tournament can lose in that play-in tournament. And any of these teams that miss the playoffs outright, whew, boy, the ramifications, I can't even. Like, if the Warriors miss the playoffs entirely, what happens after all these good vibes? I don't think it's going to happen. But what if, Doug?
I don't know. And what if the Nuggets don't make the playoffs, if they get knocked out of the play-in, is that going to cost Michael Malone his job?
Oh, everybody's getting fired. Everybody's getting fired. Whole thing. Michael Malone, Calvin Booth, trainers, staff, assistant GMs. My guy, Ron, that works outside the room doing security. Jenny upstairs with the chicken. Everybody's getting fired if they miss the playoffs.
Not Jenny. All right, coming up on Locked On NBA, I want to shine a spotlight on the Houston Rockets, who had an amazing weekend of tough physical defense. Plus, the Knicks, they get Jalen Brunson back, but that was not the big story out of Locked On Knicks. We'll tell you who the big story actually was on the other side. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track of your funds. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center with all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. You can go beyond just managing money and start actually building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on streaming services. Spoiler alert, it was a lot. Now I budget smarter and I save more. And the best part is I don't have to use multiple apps. I just use Monarch to check my finances, track my spending, and plan out my long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Your favorite NBA team has a free daily newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com, subscribe, and stay up to date with local expert analysis. The Houston Rockets exited the weekend with a pair of outstanding wins against the Thunder and the Warriors that came down to physical defense and some pre-playoff matchup play. Let's hear from Jackson Gatlin on the X factor that made the difference against the Thunder, and then you're going to hear from Locked On Warriors on how the Rockets locked up Steph Curry.
The Rockets went double big to counter the double big of Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein for the OKC Thunder, and it worked. It was fantastic. Steven Adams did so much of the dirty work on the interior. He walked away with 12 rebounds, 6 of them coming on the offensive side of things. And you saw the Thunder having to commit to staying home on Steven Adams to try and prevent him from getting those easy second chance opportunities. But Şengün was largely able to play one-on-one most of the night.
The Houston Rockets defense is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, they had Thompson one-on-one with Curry at points, and then the switch would come and it would be Dylan Brooks would be guarding them. And then both would be guarding them with their length and their physicality.
They're really good defensively. We've seen throughout the course of Steph's career, especially these last couple of years, there are times where teams can bottle up Steph, face guarding him, bringing doubles, even triples, just good individual pressure, and really committing to the defense, getting over screens, just doing everything possible to make Steph's life difficult, and it was.
Extremely entertaining game between the Warriors and the Rockets. We might get that in the first round. We'd have to wait as it stands now for a Thunder Rockets Western Conference Finals. Haize, should the Warriors or the Thunder be more worried about a matchup advantage versus the Rockets, the Adams versus OKC issue, or the Amen Brooks versus Curry?
Amen Brooks versus Curry. Listen. I have been a Rockets doubter to a degree, right? Not the fact that I doubt that how good they are really, really good. It's just you typically don't see the young teams go very far in their first major playoff run, right? But this team just seems like they're a little bit different than that. Like this win over the Thunder, as well as some of the other wins over the season, have really kind of made me change my mind on the Rockets a little bit. I used to think that they were a team that couldn't make it to the Western Conference Finals, but they'd have a good run. But I think that they can. But that Warriors matchup, make no mistake about it, if Steph turns into playoff Steph and you still have Jimmy, and Jimmy is even 70% of what he's been in some of these playoff runs, that could be a very difficult matchup with the experience and coaching of the Golden State Warriors. But do not count out this Rockets team. I just say don't count them out yet.
The Warriors seem so boosted by emotion right now, though, right? It's like when they're bullying and things are great, like I'm gonna be honest. They've always been a little bit of front runners, like just a little bit. The Warriors are a little bit front runners. And when the Rockets hit them in the mouth, Draymond lost his mind last night. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, you've got a man being able to, and like the thing with Curry is this is what happens once you get older. Curry's been phenomenal for the last month. He's been so good, but the consistency is the hard part. It's hard to be consistently elite once you get over the age of 34. And we're seeing that, I think, with Steph Curry a little bit versus these elite defenses. The question is going to be like, all right, if it's crunch time and it's a close game, who do you trust more, Rockets or Warriors? You're going to trust the Warriors more, and for good reason. But that doesn't mean that the Rockets can't get out of that series. What if they lose 3 close games but win 4 comfortable ones? I like the Rockets a lot in that matchup. I actually think that I've been saying I don't think the Warriors are as good as the stretch shows, and I'm not going to over-index on one game, but I do think the matchup favors Houston quite a bit.
There's so much emotion on both sides. I mean, you saw Ime Udoka, head coach of the Rockets, almost get into it with Curry as they were exiting. And I think trust is going to be a huge word if these two do face off in the playoffs, because part of the reason that Steven Adams played in that Thunder game was because Dylan Brooks was suspended because he got his 16th technical. Obviously, Draymond Green always in danger of getting thrown out early in a game. So, it really is going to come down to who can keep their cool, even though both of these teams obviously driven by emotion.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just, can I ask a question? Haize, what does Draymond Green have to do to get ejected? Like, what does he have to do? Like, does he have to stab someone? Like, does he have to strangle them? Because he tried to do that to Rudy, and that got him ejected one time, and that got him a suspension. But like, what does he have to do? Everything this man does night by night is by the letter of the law, an ejection from an officials for how he treats them. And every time they're just like, oh, Draymond. And I think Draymond's amazing and awesome and incredible and such a gift to us content creators and an all-time NBA talent. But God, how does he get away with this stuff? How many people are getting ejected in a Rockets Warriors series? How many people are getting suspended?
I don't know how he keeps getting away with this, to be honest with you. Like, as far as how many suspensions are going to happen or ejections are going to happen, it really depends on how close those games are, because I could see them trying to be their best in maybe a game or two, but anything after game 2, especially if they split the first 2 games, it's going to be a crapshoot after that point in time.
It doesn't seem like the officials have any idea how to officiate Draymond still to this day, because the tech that he received wasn't a technical foul. Like, I mean, that was a normal drive, and it seemed to be punishment for some stuff that wasn't called earlier. So it's just, I don't know that they still know how to officiate this guy. It's very strange to me. All right, let's move on to the East. We've stuck with the West for a little while. I want to turn our attention to the New York Knicks, who finally welcomed back Jalen Brunson. Here's Locked On Knicks, who are happy to have Brunson back, but their eyes are set on another budding star.
Let's get a 2-0 back-to-back weekend wins over Atlanta and Phoenix. But the big story through it all, even on the weekend Jalen Brunson returned, OG Anunoby is playing like a superstar. Brunson, maybe looking a little rusty, a little bit like he's still trying to find his groove, which is understandable. The guy's been out for a while, but the connecting tissue between these 2 games, OG Anunoby, 24 points in that Atlanta game. And then even with Brunson back, 32 points. He just absolutely steals the show against Phoenix. 13 of 17 from the floor, 6 of 8 from 3, 6 boards, 3 assists. It's happening with OG right now. This felt to me more than any of the games recently in this 10 game streak that he's currently on with 20 points or more.
He does sort of look like a superstar again. I'm hesitant to say, well, this is just who he is now, because he's been a completely different guy the rest of his career, but we're clearly seeing something happen here, Alex.
So when Brunson first went out with his injury, I think we were all asking the question, like, who steps up for New York? And it seems like it has been OG, Matt. But the scoring run that he's on, if he continues that into the playoffs and Jalen Brunson shakes the rust off, is that enough to start to believe in the New York Knicks' chances of making an extended playoff run?
No, I'm going to keep the line here. I don't care what Wingstop does. I don't care what they do. I don't care what Mikal Bridges does. I don't care what OG does. Is it cool? Yeah. Like, those guys are awesome. OG may be the best March and April player you're ever going to see. Like, his numbers are ballistic the last 2 years in March and April. You got to show me you can defend with Cat and Jalen on the floor. They played 2 minutes last night. 2. with Jalen, Cat, and Mitchell Robinson. You've got to be able to show me that lineup can work together, because I think you're going to need it. You need the rim protection along with Cat's versatility on offense. You got to show me that you can make that work. Without it, I'm going to have questions about this team. It's great that OG and Mikal are doing this. It's awesome. It's good for their careers. It's really fun for Knicks fans. But like, Jalen Brunson's going to have the ball the majority of the time in these playoffs. That's going to be the answer here, is like, can you get stops with Jalen and Cat on the floor? That's the question.
And I 100% agree with Matt here. It's the offense is great, and it's great to get this scoring output for OG and Anunoby. It's good that somebody stepped up because you needed it to happen. It allows Jalen Brunson to have time to shake off that rust. But the bigger question here about the Knicks has always been the defense, and that does not answer any of that. Like, this is a team that, like, especially by who they're coached by, you would expect them to be so much better than what they are defensively. That's going to be the Achilles heel. Yeah, some of these playoff series could turn into who can outscore who, but you need to be able to make stops, and that's where the Knicks have their biggest liability at. And until that changes, until I see them consistently step up on the defensive side of the ball against some of these better teams, maybe that can happen in the first round of the playoffs. They gear up and get better as the playoffs go on defensively, and they understand what they need to do. But so far this season, we haven't seen it from them consistently. There's no reason to believe that it's all of a sudden going to flip now. And I think the defense is going to be what holds this team back the most in the playoffs.
Like, Doug, I want to ask you this. Do you think the Knicks can just outscore Boston?
No. That's really, that's what it comes down to. I don't think they can outscore Boston. As potent as that Brunson, Cat pick and roll can be, not over maybe in a 1-game situation, but not over the course of a 7-game series. Absolutely not. But let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/ at Locked On NBA. Coming up, the NCAA final is set. Florida and Houston. I want to know from Matt and Haize who has impressed them the most during this NCAA tournament run as it pertains to future NBA stars. And we are beginning our season recap. The regular season not over, but we're going to be turning our attention to the playoffs sooner rather than later. So I want to do a storyline draft, the biggest storylines of the season drafted by Matt, Haize, and myself. That's coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs, they're almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you are going to get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine those live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Award season is almost here. We've been talking a lot about it here on the show. SGA right now an overwhelming favorite to win NBA MVP, but the race for Eastern Conference MVP is a lot tighter. Jason Tatum only a slight favorite over the Cavs' Donovan Mitchell. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That's FanDuel.com. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. All right, Matt, Haize, the NCAA final is set. It's going to be Florida against Houston. But I want to know from both of you the prospects that have impressed you most in their tournament showing. Haize, who you got?
Derek Queen. Derek Queen played so good this year. And he's a player that I came into this NCAA season not really familiar with at all. And just looking at what he did over the tournament, like, he just had such a big run, hitting big shots, things like that. Derek Queen was the first one that just absolutely stood out to me at. And then I also say Jeremiah Fears was another player that I was familiar with this game, but I wasn't all the way familiar with this game because he stood a lot for me as well in this tournament.
Doug, who's impressed you?
Well, obviously Cooper Flagg, despite, missing in the clutch, I thought his overall performance in the tournament was extremely impressive. His ability to do it on both ends. I think not that he needed to solidify his spot as the number one overall prospect, looked great. I was disappointed that Rutgers didn't make the tournament because I wanted a closer look at how Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper would do in those situations. But yeah, I thought Cooper Flagg was great.
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest here. The reason I don't pay attention to these things is not only because college basketball is childish and silly, but also because I wind up in a spot where there's so many times that I've had like an assessment or had guys, and it's been so wildly, prolifically, incredibly wrong. So I have shifted very much to what I do is I ask everybody I know as much as I can. Like there's guys that do scouting consultation for teams. I'll start talking to those guys like next week. Like it's usually April when I start circling around to them after the tournament. Talking to guys in the league that work in personnel groups to try and get an understanding of it, because my perceptions of who is good and who is not are often so wrong in terms of about how to apply them to the draft. I said for a while because of that, I was like, well, the draft's just random. Like it's a crapshoot. And very, very smart people that work in scouting were like, you're saying that because you're bad at it. You need to like understand that like, no, there's a science to this, but it does take a high level of attention. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to come on here and give like a very surface level take off of the tournament. Like it's fine. Like, I think it's totally good to be like, yeah, I like the way that this guy, like I thought the same thing that Haize did about Queen. I thought he was absolutely tremendous. But I always want to be like, to really give this idea of what they're going to do in the NBA takes so much work that we're not privy to. So my best answer here is no idea, Doug.
All right. Well, we'll have to take that answer. I want to move to our season recap here. The regular season not over yet, but we will be turning our attention to the postseason next week. So this week, we're recapping the biggest stories from the 82 with a storyline draft. Now, I'm going to take the third pick, and we're not going to do a coin flip. We're going to do what? Paper, rock, scissors for the first overall selection here to draft up our biggest storylines of the season. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you ready, Haize? I'll count it off. I'll count it off. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Double scissors. Let's go again. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
No!
Oh, there we go. Matt Moore wins the first overall selection with a scissors over paper. What?
That Haize had rock.
I had paper.
No, I had paper. No.
I win.
So you have the first overall selection. What was the biggest story from this 82-game season?
Man, I wonder, what could it be? Come on, it's the trade. It's literally
which trade?
The name for this is capital T, the capital T trade, the trade. Like it has to be Luka Doncic getting traded to the Lakers. It's not. Yeah, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, a first-round pick. That's all like in the tiny little footnotes at the bottom. The big deal is that you traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. You got a bad return on it, but even just trading Luka, it was such an insane result. I went viral because I was live on Locked On Nuggets when it happened. I still have Lakers fans coming in being like, I love this show. You guys were so upset, even though I thought it was hilarious. The most unbelievable trade I've ever seen happen. Nothing will ever top it, Haize. The trade goes number one.
Yeah, there's nothing that tops that at all. I think that was one of those moments that 20 years from now, people are going to be like, hey, do you remember what you were doing when the Luka Doncic trade was announced? I remember. I adamantly remember. I was face first into 10 wings. I had a wing in my mouth when I heard the news. Shout out to the lemon pepper. The storyline that I'll take is the MVP conversation. I think that between SGA and Jokic, it's been such a interesting conversation to have. I think the storylines, all that, the season that Jokic has had is one of the all-time great seasons, and for that to more than likely look like it's going to end in not even an MVP, like Jokic probably has two of the all-time best seasons not to end in the MVP award, and it's just crazy to say. So that the MVP storylines this season, the conversation around the MVP, that's the storyline that I'll take this year.
I want to circle back to the Luka AD trade because it's obviously the biggest story of this season, but I'm wondering, like in the next couple of seasons, is there anything that could happen that would top that story? Like what would have to happen for us to go, yeah, that's bigger than the Luka AD trade? Because of how shocking it was, how like it was, we couldn't even fathom the idea. I just don't know what could happen.
We have to limit it
SGA
to
being traded to build around Jalen Williams is probably the only thing I could think around if they do something crazy like that.
it would have to be something that's like, it's so dark I don't even want to mention it, right? Like if it's basketball related, there's not an outcome. Like there's no outcome. If the Bucks traded Giannis, you're not surprised. If the Nuggets had to trade Jokic, you at this point you're like, oh yeah, I don't know. Like this stuff happened. But like trading Luka at this point, I get if the Spurs traded Victor Wembanyama on their own, sure, that would be it. You'd have to if the Spurs were like, this guy doesn't have it, doesn't have Mamba mentality. I'm gonna go get myself Kyrie Irving for Victor Wembanyama. Like that would be the equivalent here.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. If you can think of something in the comments, let us know. YouTube.com/@LockedOnNBA. I have the third pick.
Playoffs?
Well, the Hornets. Yeah, the Hornets making Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in their franchise history next season after getting Cooper Flag. I think that'd be a huge story. I don't know if it's Luka AD quality, but yeah, I mean that would be a huge story. So I feel like this story fell to me. It's the Jimmy Butler, his ugly divorce with Miami, getting traded to the Warriors. I really like maybe that or Embiid was dominated our early coverage.
Isn't that two stories? Like to me, there's Jimmy detonates Heat culture, and then there's Jimmy Butler traded to the Warriors, and they're kind of like two separate stories.
Okay. No, that's fair. So I would say the bigger story, the one we covered more, talked about more, was his ugly divorce from Miami because it had levels. I think a lot of people expected it, but that it dragged out and that Miami almost put themselves in that position and sort of ended their own Heat culture in the midst of it. So that, there were a lot of interesting storylines there. I really feel like that. I think that was the second biggest storyline, but I think it was right there with the MVP conversation.
Pat Riley cried and Jimmy embarrassed him with that story. Pat Riley tried to connect to him over family. I mean, it was nasty. That story was disgusting and a reminder of don't get caught up in the wins and losses. Remember, when people tell you who they are, believe them.
Okay, we've got a lot of storylines to go. We'll keep doing this over the next couple of days. We'll draft these up. Let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other, and we're going to see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.